This is the second video on case law research. In the first video, we talked generally about how to find relevant cases, and we talked a little bit about using annotated statutes and secondary sources to find case law. In this one, we're going to talk about the one good case method. We're going to spend a while talking about that, and in conjunction with that method, also talk a little bit about citators and topical searching, and then I'm going to have a few thoughts on full text searching. So to illustrate using the one good case method, let's use this case, Lee versus Board of Registration in Nursing. This is one of the cases that was mentioned in the case notes to the statute that we looked at in the last video. So you could have found this one good case that way by looking at the annotated statute or a secondary source, but in any case, once you find this case, how would you use this case to find additional cases? So let's look at this case on Lexis first to talk in a little bit more detail about that. So once you're in this case, whether you're on Lexis, Westlaw, or free source, the first thing you'll probably do is read the case. So let's just go into the body of the case. And once you're reading the case, you'll see that it often references primary law, including in this case statutes, and I saw briefly some regulations. But in addition, you'll see lots of references to prior cases that our case, Lee versus Board of Registration in Nursing, relied upon. And so some of these cases might also be important for our research, our case law research. So when we're reading through the first case, we found that one good case, we're just going to naturally discover additional cases that we want to take a look at. In addition to finding cases by reading the Lee case, you might find newer cases by shepherdizing or updating the case. In this case, because we're on Lexis, we could click the little triangle to shepherdize this case and find subsequent cases, later cases that have talked about this Lee case that might be on point for our legal research. The final way we could use this case on Lexis is to use the outline, the headnote, Lexis headnote system, to find additional cases that talk about the same legal issues that have been pulled out for us by the Lexis editors. So for example, they summarize the points of law in various headnotes. This headnote 1, for example, summarizes one point of law that has to do with healthcare law with a subtopic of licensing. And if we wanted to find additional cases that talked about this same point of law, if it was important to our case, we could click on this and click Get Documents to get additional cases that are on this same point of law. Let's look at this same case on Westlaw. So of course we could do the same thing, read through the case to find the older cases that the Lee case relied upon. We could also update this case by looking at the citing references and looking at the newer cases that have cited to this case. And we can use the outline of law on Westlaw, that's the topic and key number system, to find additional cases. So let's take a closer look at these headnotes in the topic and key number system on Westlaw. So each of these numbers relates to a point of law discussed in the case, and we can get to that part of the case by clicking on the number, for example. In addition to relating to an issue in the case, the topic and key numbers relate to the broader key number system West has created that categorizes all of the U.S. law by topic and subtopic or key number. So this can be really helpful because we can use these topics and key numbers to find additional cases that have been assigned the same topic and key number on West. So that way they're discussing the same point of law that we've been researching. So say in this case we were interested in the point of law in headnote number 4. And so the larger topic here is health, our subtopic is obstetricians and midwives, and if we click on this little key, we can see where that subtopic fits in the outline of law and what numbers were assigned to it. So the larger topic here, health, is the broad topic, and it's assigned the number online, which is 198, and then the subtopic here was assigned the number 167. Okay, so that 167 represents this subtopic, obstetricians and midwives. So that's when we have one good case, and we're using the one good case in connection with the topic and key number system to find additional relevant cases. But if we didn't have a case already, we could still use the topic and key number system. If you go back out to the main page on Westlaw and click into key numbers, you can actually search for key numbers that are relevant to your issue by typing your keywords into this box right here. Okay, so that's how we can start with the West key number system and then find cases. So I wanted to talk briefly about full text searching. A lot of the tips that Rick gave you last week on searching for statutes are going to be applicable as well for cases. You can limit by jurisdiction, as appropriate by court. You can run a broad search and then narrow using the search within feature if you get too many results. So this is just an example on Lexis. I created a simple Boolean search using some various terms, and then when I ran my search, you can see that the Lee versus Board of Registration in nursing was my top hit. So even though I got 245 results, I'm getting the results pushed to the top that seem most relevant. If I wanted to get a smaller number of initial cases, I could use the search within feature, putting in maybe the concept of, for example, midwife or midwives. In terms of citators, you're going to have a couple other videos, but I just wanted to give you a few tips. Don't rely exclusively just on the flags. You actually have to go read the later cases to understand the treatment. The different search platforms, the different research platforms, the features are going to be a little bit different on the citators, so you're going to want to be aware of that. And then if you have to, you can create your own citator on a free resource like Google Scholar by searching for case citations within a case law database that you might be able to have access to. Okay, and my final slide is just about citation tips. So Rick spent some time going over tips on statutes. I just wanted to remind you that we do have this Blue Book guide at the Suffolk Law Library website that you can access that could help you if you have questions about citing to cases.